Good afternoon. Welcome into Crossing the Aisle. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Sean with my mic's off.
It says it's on.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, can you hear me now? I can't hear
I
myself.
can't hear you through my headphones, but
No.
it says your mic's on.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Interesting.
it says it's on. Oh,
You
well,
went.
maybe. Oh, here you go.
Oh, is that what the
They
problem was?
did they switch it up?
I guess. Okay, there you go. You
Can
had the wrong mic over there. Is
Okay, now I'm good. All
that
right.
better?
Yeah. See, we have people that come in the studio and they switch things up for reasons. No offense to them, but they switched my mic up. So anyway, now it's working.
Yeah. So, Sean, how about those tariffs?
Is that the way you want to start it
How
off?
about that stock market?
Hey, well, everybody. So we saw that we've been going through financial calamity the last week due to the Trump tariffs.
Calamity.
I mean, that's what do you want to call it? Upheaval, disruption, something like.
Disruption.
Okay, and that's been going on since he had Liberation Day, which I think was last Wednesday.
Hmm.
The
Yeah, it
administration.
was the day after the election because I thought Liberation Day was literally meaning Jackson's getting away from Chokeway, but
Yeah, that'll be
you
on April 22nd. We're waiting for Liberation Day there. But so the president announced tariffs on reciprocal tariffs on several countries using an interesting formula where they took the trade deficit and divided it by the export and the import, and which has been just some dispute in that. But nevertheless, the markets were uneven or are very nervous about that, as we all saw. And then the president yesterday decided to put a 90-day pause, which caused the stock market to soar. So he had he essentially backed off from the tariff policy, except for China, who we're in China are now
China.
at war. Yeah, China and China are we're at war on that. So that's where we are right now. So the tariffs are on hold right now while they negotiate, and we'll see what happens. But I think the way to look at this really is, and I was talking to somebody earlier about it, and I don't know if he's listening now, but we had a good conversation this morning, and he was in favor of the tariffs. But it's to me, it's what's the goal here, Lindsay, on the tariffs now? If you're looking to get a fair tariff rate, like a zero tariff rate, then
Or if
that's
you believe we've been taken advantage of by other countries.
yeah, yeah. If that's what you're looking at it like, then it would be a win if he's able to negotiate
Zero for zero.
zero tariff rate deals. That's going to be a terrific win, and there's no way to take that away. And I'll say that plainly, even though I'm not a Trump guy. But if he can do that, that's great. The issue with that, though, is when you're talking about domestic production, and
Right.
if you get a zero tariff rate, you're not going to bring domestic production back. So it depends on what you want. What's the goal here? Do you
But
want
we've
this?
talked about this. It's
Yep.
basically impossible to bring that back anyway because so many jobs have been taken over by technology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's impossible to have the same jobs that we had 50 years ago.
Yeah, we're never going to bring back the golden era of American manufacturing from the 50s.
Yeah.
That's gone, and that's gone for many reasons. Like you just said, automation, AI, production costs here are just more. Labor costs are significantly more. I'll give you an example of this. So Nike, which is I'm waiting on my Nike. I made a custom Nikes, which should be here today. I hadn't told you that, but they'll be here.
I mean, they took a while. They're taking a while to get here.
Yeah. They I guess I did tell you so they make them in Vietnam, and so Nike pays the Vietnamese worker between $5,000 and $6,000 a year. There's just no way that we're going to be able to do that here, and so we're not going to have the Nike factory move back to the United States. There's somebody who did give me a good argument today, and I thought was pretty intelligent, was that it's not necessarily about that. It's about future manufacturing. If somebody wants to produce something here, which I thought was a pretty good argument. I didn't disagree with that portion of it. But where we are today is we're not going to bring those jobs back. Those jobs are not coming back. Unfortunately, it'd be great, but we outsourced our manufacturing to Southeast Asia, China, decades ago. So that's where we are. So if your goal is that's what your goal, and the administration has said that they want to bring back all this domestic production, then a zero tariff rate does not help with that. But it helps you in other ways too, because it obviously is good for our businesses to have zero tariffs from other countries. So.
I saw on the news somewhere that Apple to move just 10% of Apple to another country for production was going to be like billions of dollars. Just 10% of the company to be able to move that. So of course, you don't think about these big organizations or these big companies. I love the way Russ Latino puts it because he's put several posts out on Facebook and he breaks it down in ways that you can understand locally how it's going to affect businesses and or people selling things locally. And he had a good post about the smocking place where he buys a lot of his kids' clothes.
I don't even know what smocking
I told
was.
Sean I was going to have to divorce him because he didn't know what smocked
I had
clothes
no
were.
idea what it was.
How do you live life
Americans
45
and
years
their
and not know what smocked
I mean,
clothing
I'm
is?
sorry, I just missed out on it. I
You
don't
live
have
in
any kids.
Mississippi. Like, I think that's a crime
What smocked
to not
clothes?
know what that is.
See, and that's funny that we're talking about how like, man, we're on the wrong country's on the wrong track. People know what smocked clothes are.
Yes, of course we
that seems
do.
like we're doing pretty well if you know what that is. So,
You need a kid. You
no,
need a kid. Yeah, but I love the way that Russ kind of breaks it down and you're able to see how it will affect, just the everyday person in our local community. And you said something a minute ago. I'm going to disagree with you. You said, had us all nervous. I was not nervous. I was kind of whatever.
Oh, why don't you
Because,
tell the audience why you
okay,
were not
let me
nervous?
tell you why. Because I know Donald Trump and he needs to be told how great he is and how loved he is and how wonderful he is. He that's his
That's just
That's
stick.
just him. That's who he is. He needs that. And I knew that as soon as people began to back off the Trump train, he was going to find a way to pull back from this and make it look like he's made all these huge wins, which I mean, maybe he has. This might be a really great thing. Maybe he did what he was wanting to do. And maybe that was the plan all along.
Well, the problem is, what was it that he wanted to do? That's my question. Was it?
Well, I think he said two different things at this point. He has said like to bring all the jobs back to America,
Mhm.
but then he's also said it's not right. We've been taken advantage of by these other countries with these tariffs that they had on us, and that's why he wanted to do back to them what they were doing to us, kind of like a taste of their own medicine,
Right.
which seems to have worked everywhere but with China, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what kind of trade deals he gets from these other countries. We still don't know that, and he may very well get them. He may get the zero tariff rates, but again, if and again, that's a win. Like I was saying earlier, if he's able to do that, total win. The problem is, it's not also what he said in terms of bringing back domestic production because you just can't have both.
Well, he said both things.
Yeah, he said both things. So it's either one or the other. And I think what you saw, Lindsay, like in the administration, there was a lot of infighting. Like you had the Elon people that are against tariffs, and then Peter Navarro, who Elon called Peter Retardo, I think, or a moron and all this stuff, who is dead set on tariffs and bringing back domestic production. So those camps were fighting. And in the end, I think the market's getting rattled and the bond market getting rattled is what kind of pushed the president to put this pause, which fixed everything back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I think he saw there's defections in his own party in Congress. We're starting to move away from this. Like, hey man, I don't know if this is a good idea. And I think so. All that culminated in this pause that we're seeing right now. That doesn't mean though that we got this pause that we're not going to get some kind of deal out of it. I think probably will. I think we'll probably get some kind of deal. The thing is everybody going to be happy with the kind of deal because it's when it doesn't bring back the domestic production that he had talked about.
Well, it made for some great memes, and
Yeah.
and you had quite a few haters on Facebook this week.
I mean, well, look, I'm just giving you facts. I mean, you can't have both. Look, if he gets the zero tariff, I'll say that's a win. I got no problem with that. That's fine. But you're not going to get domestic production back with that. They're not. I mean, that's just a fantasy that to think that they're gonna now, okay, everything's the status quo is going to be maintained. We just have a better deal for our businesses that are, or actually for the, for our businesses and stuff. So, I mean, I think, you're not gonna bring back all this domestic manufacturing if we get these deals. I mean, so that's the thing. It was all about the cost of goods over there would be so expensive for American consumers to buy that we'd have to bring back domestic production. That the iPhone they were talking about this week, what iPhone's going to cost you $3,000, or the car.
I said that to you. I was like, maybe I should have upgraded my phone before all this went down.
And in that, then it's like, okay, well, maybe we can bring back some domestic production. I think the thing with tariffs, and I don't think, Gretchen Whitmer actually met with the president, who's the governor of Michigan.
We know who she is.
Yeah, and talked about it and how she agreed with some of it. And there's parts of tariffs that I do agree with. I think you could do targeted tariffs to grow certain industries. Automotive certainly is one where, you want to protect the American automotive industry. So there, I don't really have much objection with that. But all across the board, I think it plays into kind of what you're talking about, Russ's example with the smocked clothing. Which, hey, God bless them. I bet they got a great business. I hope they make a lot of money, and I'm sure they have. I didn't know what it was, but I think that's.
I sent him examples. He knows now.
Yeah, now I see what it is. But it costs a small business person like that tons of money where they're going to go out of business because of the tariffs.
Yeah.
And me, I sold stuff on Amazon as a business for a while, and dealt with a lot of Chinese manufacturers. And there's thousands of these Amazon businesses, mom and pop shops that make things, brand their own products, and all that was going to go away. So there was a lot of like effects that people didn't realize that we have due to having foreign production and goods being cheaper that we're going to impact American businesses quite a lot. I think you're right. I think Russ put that out pretty well, better than I'm explaining it. Just go read his post.
Yeah, because we get into these conversations, and I don't understand the stock market. I don't understand how they can predict what's going to happen before it actually happens. And then Sean gets so frustrated with me because I don't understand what he's trying to tell me, and I don't understand how we're so much in debt, yet we're able to borrow money from other countries. And how does that happen? Like, you have to have credit, and none of it it just doesn't make sense in my brain.
Well, I mean, it's I'm not saying I understand it fully. I'm a lawyer, not a financial guy. But my dad worked for Merrill Lynch forever, and I kind of learned a lot from him. And the one thing that interesting, we were talking about the China tariffs. That war is just escalating, and the Chinese do not seem like they are going to back off that. China has a lot of ways of attacking us too, other than tariffs. They own a bunch of our mortgage-backed securities, which you're going to see maybe an issue with that now. This is a spring housing market, which has already been kind of slow. If they start dumping those, interest rates are going to rise. And that's a big problem that people are worried about right now too. So China does, I mean, I think they own like 15% of our mortgage-backed securities. So that's an issue.
Do you think that's why maybe there's this war in Congress right now over whether to pass this big beautiful bill of Trump's with the tax cuts, but that also increases spending several trillion dollars, I believe.
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't studied the bill that's kind of taken second footing to what's been going on the last week, but I've seen some of it. So I'm
Yeah.
not as familiar with everything that's in that yet. I know there is obviously the extension of the Trump tax cuts that were passed in 2017. And then all I see is, you see a lot of rhetoric on both sides. So I haven't read it and I don't know exactly what it is. I see the Democrats talking about the Medicaid is going to be cut. And then the Republicans didn't want to vote for certain portions of it. Some of the Republicans thought there was too much spending in it. And I just haven't dissected it yet because we've been in tariff hell for the last
The
week.
last week, yeah. When is
So
there not too much spending? I mean, that's all the government does, I feel like. Spend, spend, spend.
well, that's how people stay elected. That's the Rand Paul, who people will be surprised is actually one of my more favorite senators. He gave a speech a few years ago, which I thought was really great, and he said, the thing is, everybody thinks that one part the Republicans are against spending. He's like, that's not what it is. The Democrats, when they're in power, they spend on things they want. And then when the Republicans talk about, oh, we need to cut spending, but when they're in power, they spend it on what they want to spend it on.
I
So
don't know.
nobody's like
I
really.
think Trump and Elon have cut a lot of spending so far.
Trump has not been Trump has actually spent quite a deal. I think he expanded the deficit by larger than any other president, I think.
But he's
That was
also
because
cut. But he's
2020,
also
but
cutting at a different
well,
departments.
they're cutting, but it's such a small percentage of what's going on with the total
Well, I
budget.
mean, when we eliminate the Department of Education completely, like we plan to do,
Yes, Lindsay,
that's
that's
going
gonna
to be.
take it all out of there. Right. I know you just want the Department of Education to burn.
I
That's
want
not
it
about
to
money.
burn
It's
to
not
the
about money.
ground, burn it down.
No, but I mean, I think it is. I think there's like neither party is anti-spending. They both love to spend. It just depends on what you want to spend the money on.
I've
And
got
that's
some
what
ideas.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what they do. No, I mean, there's not just now. There's little factions in each party that are anti-spending, primarily the Republicans, but as a whole, they all love spending because that's how they keep their jobs. Like spend money
Yeah.
on things they want to spend it on. Tell their constituents this is what we did. This is what did here, and
Hmm.
they get to stay elected. So
All right. Well, it's time for our first commercial break, and when we come back, I guess we can talk about how the anti-vaxxers are mad at me today. And one of the most vocal people speaking out on the harmful vaccine industry.
yep, I'll let
And
you run with that because I don't know a dang thing about vaccines. All that I've just
I've
taken all
made
of
them
them.
mad somehow.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all stay with us. We'll be right back. If you want to call in, give us your thoughts and opinions, you can call the show line at 601-879-0002. Stay with us. We'll be right back here at WIB 103.9. Welcome back to Crossing the Aisle with Sean and Lindsay, where politics meets passion, literally. And I think Sean's going to tell you about the god awful hour he wakes up to go to CrossFit.
Yeah, I wake up at 5 in the morning. I just, I don't know, I'm an early riser, and I go to the 6 a.m. CrossFit Founder class, who's now a sponsor of this show, and who have two members of WYAB that are there, myself and the radio strongman, who's not so strong in the class, is Kim Wade. He's there, and you get to.
I wonder if he's heard you say that.
Oh, I'm
yet.
doing this deliberately, so he
I know.
will. Like, I hope he does listen. So that's why I'm deliberately razz him anyway. And where you can talk politics all you want there, because we did that this morning. Talked about the market and everything. There's some financial guys that work out with us in the morning. We're explaining some things to me that were really interesting. But it's a fun place. It's not like a meathead gym. Nobody judges anybody. It's a really fun time, and it's over there in the heart of Fondren. And if they can put up with Kim Wade's opinions and my opinions, they can put up with anybody. So it's a great place to come.
True.
So come check us out.
Y'all talk about tariffs?
Huh? Well, we did. Yeah, we did. Kind of while we were lifting, we were talking about that and many other things. It's a great place. Great people there that go there. And it's a really fun time. So,
are y'all gonna go have tea with Chokeway?
No, we're not doing the Chokeway tea thing. I think most members of the gym are anti-Chokeway. I don't want to speak for everybody there. There may be a secret Chokeway supporter. I hope not. But the easiest thing about it, obviously, my office is in that same complex, so you can come there and work out and talk about politics, make fun of Kim while he's lifting. That's my favorite thing. I used to be able to do that all the time because he goes to like the noon class, but now I'm doing this and I can't go over there and like heckle him. So I'm missing out on that. And, we'll talk about his run for mayor once after this runoff. We're not on that. We're not to that. That'll be a fun time, actually, though. It's talking about Kim versus John Horn and Zach Service and Ronnie DePriest. And is there some other person that I'm missing that's in it?
I think there's the only three independents, and so it will be those three running against John Horn more than likely.
Hope to God, John Horn, because as we saw like last night, Chokeway is making the rounds of all the radio shows.
We did see that. What? I guess maybe we shouldn't call out the radio station, but it seemed like they definitely screened their callers. I think they had 3 callers that called in, one of them being David Archie.
Oh,
and the other two, and David, that was pitiful. David Archie called in and just praised the mayor. I mean, really, really kissed his rear end. Thanked him for all the hard work he's put in and the good things he's done. And Sean and I were looking at each other like, is he serious? Is this a joke?
Funny. It was really funny.
And then 2 other callers that just sung his praises.
David called in, Chokeway, you're the greatest. You're a golden god. We love you. The city loves you. You've done. I mean, it was like it was such a. And I'm not. I wish. God, sometimes I wish there's a podcast where I could use the language I want to use, but I can't. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But it was like that. And then the next caller was like, Mr. Mayor, you're the bestest ever. Everybody loves you. I mean, it was just a constant stream of this. Like, obviously, there was nobody that actually made a comment or question that you would think that somebody that's based upon the voting totals that were given out to John Horn. There's obviously a lot of mad people in the city that are not just white people in Belhaven and Fondren. They're also black folks that live in other parts of the city. Everybody's equally mad. It transcends racial lines, and nobody called and say, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, can you tell me about that strip club visit when you used our tax dollars to get a lap dance?" Like, no one, somebody would ask that question.
Or why have the murders in Jackson skyrocketed under your administration? I mean, why was there such a debacle with garbage and water? We've never seen anything like that. No questions like that, though. No questions like that whatsoever.
I mean, just like when you heard last night, he talks about, I brought in the $800 million of federal money for the water system.
No, you didn't. The only reason that came in is because you had to be bailed out because you weren't doing anything to handle your city.
Yeah, I mean, it's about like me getting drunk, wrecking my car, getting the insurance money and saying, man, I did something. That's because he ruined the water system, and he's like, now I'm getting money for it. It's insane that's one of his things he's running on. But of course, he did reference the federal indictment. They did ask him that tough question, and it wasn't really tough the way they put him. But he said, "Isn't it a coincidence that happened when I announced for mayor? Isn't it a coincidence? It's because I wanted the federal money for the water. Isn't it a coincidence that I went against the airport? No, is it a coincidence you were on a yacht in Miami?" And then taking money from the FBI,
changing dates
with the DA, who was also taking money from the FBI, allegedly, or maybe not allegedly. It's him, a picture of him with things. So, I mean, you were doing all those things. Those are not coincidental things. You were there on the boat, and then you went to Tootsie's, which is the most, I grew up in Miami. That's the most infamous strip club in Miami. All the Miami Dolphins players hang out there. Like, you were there and you requested, according to the FBI, $5,000 so you could get a bunch of lap dances. Those are some expensive lap dances, by the way, Lindsay.
that taxpayers paid for.
Would you be mad if I spent $5,000 on lap dances? Or
You're not going to a strip club, so that's not. I mean, that's irrelevant.
I go to
Because
Dolphins games a bunch, I mean, I can't spend $5,000 on lap dances at Tootsie's. But if the FBI was paying, then I guess that's not so bad. If, like,
No.
the American taxpayer was paying for it.
whatever, you're ridiculous. He's not going to Tootsie's.
Okay, well, I'm saying,
He knows that. But so I ruffled some feathers this week, Sean.
You did indeed.
I'm good at that, I think.
Yep, certainly.
But I definitely was not the first person who started speaking out on vaccines and vaccine injuries, but I was probably one of the more vocal people that was speaking out before pre-COVID. This is pre-COVID when it was uncool to be an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
And it's because, obviously I've had personal experiences and it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's personal to me. And I've seen firsthand what vaccine injury looks like. Mississippi has been number 1 in childhood vaccination rates, also number 1 in infant mortality. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. I truly, wholeheartedly believe that those two things are related. And there's no way to know that because we don't have the studies. They've never done the safety studies against placebo, that would really show us.
Have you ever compared that? So we're one of the unhealthiest states, right?
We are definitely one of the unhealthiest
Well,
states.
I knew that and there's obviously other factors than vaccination rates. I mean, it's just a general, don't we have the highest obesity rates in the state too as well?
Maybe it's vaccine injury.
Well, I don't know that contributes to obesity rates of adults, but is there other states that you looked at that have similar unhealthy rates and high vaccination rates?
When you look at the vaccination rates in children and the disease,
or infant mortality, I'm sorry,
infant mortality in
saying,
children, yes, it seems to correlate with states that have higher vaccination rates.
Are those states generally in the South?
Some of them, some of them are not though. I don't think it's just a region thing or the South likes to eat fried food, and so that's why the South is, the most obese. I mean, I
think there's a poverty thing with health rates too. There's lots of factors that contributes to the unhealthiness of states.
Yeah.
Poverty, you're right, of course, eating and those sorts of things. But generally, like I wonder, I'd like to see a list of that. What are the top most unhealthiest states? I know it's generally southern states, but there probably is other states too that are.
Well, if you look at VAERS, which is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, you see that many children that die of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, they die shortly, hours or days after vaccines. Like 90% of them.
Okay.
It's a big number, and I know what happened to me, and I know that I saw a light go out in my child immediately, and he was I brought home a different kid from that well baby visit, which why we take well babies to the doctor. Yeah. I'll never understand. Well, actually, I do understand it. It's because we want to shoot them up with vaccines, which people get paid for. So I have been, and some people say, don't call me anti-vax. I just want a safe vaccine. Well, I'll gladly say I'm anti-vax because I know the crap they put into these vaccines. Anyway, MMR is the one that we see the most vaccine injuries from in children. And so this is the one that protects against the measles. We talked about this the other day, and, I told the listeners that, the measles was not quite eradicated, but almost. It was almost obsolete and eradicated prior to the vaccine ever being introduced. But now we have this vaccine outbreak in Texas.
Wasn't that a lot to the rates of measles went down when hygiene rates?
Hygiene played a big part in it as well. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Don't tell Kingfish that. Well, I think he actually told me that.
Oh, he would never want me to know that he knows that.
Yeah.
Kingfish and I, we have a love-hate relationship. We battle over vaccines.
Yes.
But
and I just stay out of it because, I'm just whatever. Do what you want is the way I look at it. Take one, don't take one. I don't care.
Well, you're just for choice, I think.
Yeah, do whatever you want, man. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So.
Well, I made a post. So RFK, he was supported by a lot of us moms in the vaccine movement because he has always been on our side, on our team. He's always talked about how we need these safety studies, and he's been a fighter for us, an advocate for us. And so he made some comments this week that, I kinda called him out for on my Facebook, and I made some people really mad, and we're up against our next break, but when we come back, I'm gonna tell you why they got so infuriated with me
Oh, yeah. Can't
over
wait.
these over
So
these com Sean loves this discussion. It's his
oh, man. So much
favorite thing
because
to
I have
do.
to hear this all the time, so it gets
But you've learned so
I know
much.
I have, believe me. It's gotten to the point where, like, I get so beaten down that I don't argue or debate back. I'm just like, "Yep, you're right. That's it." I
Look,
all the
that's
guys out there can understand how that is, you know?
he's learned
Just
well.
like, "Yes, you're right. That's it."
All right, guys, we'll be right back. Stay with us, WIB. Welcome back into Crossing the Aisle with Sean and Lindsay. Sean, Pure Air Consultants can clean your dryer out. Do you know that?
Well, I wish I knew that before you destroyed my dryer. That would have been
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Probably, probably,
That
probably
would
would
have
have
been
helped,
helpful.
maybe. But
Until
you got a new dryer out of it.
yeah, because I
So
can't fix anything in the house, so I still have I've owned my home for nearly a decade, and I have a home warranty still that I pay for, just because I literally cannot fix anything.
probably gonna need to fix the washer
If
next
you
because
kill
it's been making
somebody,
a weird noise.
yeah, if you kill somebody, I'm like a really good person to call. But if you want me
Don't
to,
tell people
if you
that.
but if you want me to like fix the sink, don't call me. Like, I'm not good at that. I cannot do that.
So we were renting a house prior to the house that we're in now, but the dryer in that house was in the center of the house. So the vent system went up through the attic, and of course, just by gravity, it would get clogged up, and I had to have people come over several times and clean it out, 'cause all the lint that would get stuck in there. It was a fire hazard, really. But that's one thing that Pure Air Consultants does, and
Mhm.
for over 40 years, Pure Air Consultants has been delivering exceptional cooling systems to Central Mississippi. You had problems with your air for a
When have I
while.
not? I mean,
Yeah.
it's every year I have and some of it's my problem, some of it's the system's problem. My problem is I always forget, and I know a lot of people that are like me and really bad at fixing stuff are like this. I forget to get it serviced. I know right now is the time I need to call because it's right before summer.
Yeah,
Because
you
it
probably
always
should do that.
yeah, yeah. Well, now that we are doing ad reads, I have no excuse but not to call. So
Yeah, you
I'm
need to
gonna
call
call them.
Pure Air Consultants.
Yeah.
They're consistent, have expert maintenance on your system, and that improves your indoor air quality significantly. It will also help your system operations improve their efficiency by 20 to 40%. And you know how mad I get when I'm hot.
Yep.
I'm just angry.
I mean, it just adds on to the normal time that you're mad.
Yeah.
I mean, or exponentially raises it.
Yeah.
You're usually really mad, but then it just adds to the
Adds to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will
Yeah.
this will
Now
increase,
we're gonna get an email because they're gonna like that. Somebody's getting mad, thinking I'm insulting me, but I'm not.
or somebody's
Just
going to say, "Why is Lindsay always mad?"
I don't know.
But
Yeah,
this
it's a
will
good
increase
question.
increase the useful life and have fewer failures. And they also offer dryer filter. So your dryer filter only captures between 40 to 60% of the lint generated. The rest gets pulled through the exhaust system and can get caught in your dryer vent. Our vent cleaning service can remove this excess lint and improve your machine's efficiency, not to mention your home safety. Like I said, that's a fire hazard. And those moms out there that have kids, we need that dryer to work quickly. This last thing we want to do is be washing clothes all day and night. And when you have kids, seems like that ends up being a lot of what you do. So y'all call Pure Air Consultants. They are a proud sponsor of Crossing the Aisle, and we are glad to have them on board with us. So give them a call for all of your cooling and cleaning of the dryer vent needs. And like I was saying, I made the anti-vaxxers mad at me. I kind of called out RFK for some comments he's made recently. There's been an outbreak of the measles in Texas, and the first child that died, we kind of talked about that last week. We
The
found out
first
from
child, now, but there's a second
there's a
child.
second child. I haven't dug into that as much, but the first child actually died of medical mistakes and a bacterial pneumonia infection post measles. And I think a lot of these are coming from the Mennonite community. These
Yeah.
children are unvaccinated, probably way smarter than the other children, but that's just my
The Mennonites are
opinion.
like Amish, right? Essentially.
I think they're a lot like the Amish.
Okay.
I don't know any of
Maybe
them.
they
So
are smarter than everybody because they don't have to like listen to us or anybody
that's
else.
true.
And like
That's
they
true.
get their blood up. They're not like, what's the stock market? They don't know.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But RFK made a trip to Texas, and he has basically been promoting the MMR vaccine, which
Mm.
you can't just get a measles vaccine, by the way. I love how they do this. You can't get that. You've got to get measles, mumps, rubella all in one. That's the only way that they make it. And they give that shot along with 5 others all at once to children at one time, which is absurd in my opinion.
Mhm.
But he's always been advocated for parents being able to choose, and he's still saying that. He still says that it should be the right of the family to choose, but he is urging people to have their children vaccinated for MMR. And that just really rubbed me the wrong way because that's kind of opposite of what he has been saying for years. He's been warning parents of what could happen because there's no safety studies. And now all of a sudden that he is in this position that we
Mhm.
think we've got someone fighting for us on the inside. And maybe he is. Maybe this is a part of his plan. But that's the hate that I got. People saying this is all a part. He can't show his cards. This is a part of it. He can't do anything in one day. Well, Trump went into office ripping and roaring, ready to do everything right off the bat. And I thought that's what we would see from him concerning the vaccine issue, and that just does not seem to be the case. But people don't want to call that out right now. And I'm just not one that's going to call out the left, call out the rhinos on things that I disagree with, but keep my mouth shut when someone who I'm supposed to support is saying stuff I disagree. I'm just not going to do that. I'm still going to say that's wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, do you think it's just different levels of what I guess Trump's priorities are? It seems to me that, and you and I were discussing this the other night. It seems like the anti-vax community is smaller than these other pressing issues. One being, I know you're for the dismantling the Department of Education, and then of course one of his biggest issues obviously was getting the border crisis under control. Which
Right.
He's kind of he's made good on those promises that he's done, whether you're for them or against them. I'm just saying that what he said he did. But I feel like the anti-vax community is relatively small compared to those issues, and maybe that's why it's not seen as such a pressing issue. It's like I'm going to lose the anti-vax vote. Like, what is that really?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, I think that community of people has grown significantly since COVID.
But he was the one. I mean, he's Operation Warp Speed.
Well, I know. And I said that in my post as well.
So.
I said, how soon people forget that Donald Trump was the one urging people to go take this experimental mRNA DNA changing shot that we had no idea what the outcome would be. And I think the majority of people who took the COVID vaccine probably wish they hadn't, or they're definitely not getting any more of them. There are even some states that are banning them in their health departments. I mean, that's happening in this country. But he was the one pushing warp speed, pushing people to get vaccinated. He's the one who closed down our country. I don't forget those things.
I honestly think it's that issue. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying either. I'm just saying I think that issue is not as pressing to the general public. I think it got there during COVID when people were being forced to take the vaccine, and then it became like this big thing. But prior to this, you even just said that like the anti-vax community was
they thought we were crazy.
I don't think it's going back to that pre-COVID thing, but I think it's just not seen as the issue that it was just a couple of years ago, where people are not probably paying attention to it as much as it was. So I think that's why you're seeing RFK kind of push that, because obviously the president wanted him to push an anti-vax message, or at least vaccine testing or whatever. The term.
And they're working on that. They're working on
right. I think they would do that, and that'd be that message that he would put forward. But obviously, it's not. So I think that's probably the reason for that.
And he's still doing some really good things. He's trying to ban certain food dyes that we know are harmful. He's trying to take the fluoride out of water, which
I think that's the biggest thing with RFK. Actually, what I really like about him is that before, when he was nominated, you saw Monsanto and the big food companies were running like ad campaigns against this guy.
Right.
Well, why are they doing that? Well, they're doing that because they don't like the stuff he's got to say. Because that, to me, I know that you're all in on the vax stuff, but to me, the food thing is the real pressing issue that he's.
I know it's a big issue, but I don't know if it's the real pressing one. I think the vaccine.
This is my view. I know your view is differently because obviously your life experience, but the way I'm looking at it is like I think in the food, and we're talking about a lot of money with both the industries, obviously pharmaceuticals and
the food companies are now going to have to reformulate their product, and that's going to cost a lot of money. They're going to have to find the fact that the president of Doritos was saying in that article about RFK was saying that they can't find a vegetable dye that can get that orange color. So they don't know how they're going to make Doritos the color that their customers like it to be, which I'm fine with that orange color leaving.
The humanity, right?
I mean, I think moms are like, get rid of it. We don't want those orange fingers touching everything in our house. Yeah, I mean, I don't see what the problem is.
It's going to be purple now. Sorry, folks. You can't help it.
Yeah, but orange food dye. There were some people angry with me for saying, hey, what are you doing?
I mean, you got to think about, like, for anybody to be angry about like the color of the Doritos, or like, like, this is the two things we said in this program. I think it's kind of funny. People in this country are angry about food dye color, and then they know what smock clothing is. Now, that tells me
every parent knows what smock clothing is.
But that tells me America's doing pretty dang good over the decades. If we're complaining about food dye, like, why isn't going to be that color and that smock clothing, then I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
This is my analysis. I mean, we're not like standing in line for apples in the street. I mean, it's just we're doing pretty well as a society.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Give us a call, 601-879-0002. I think Sean's about to get up out of here. He's got a court date, but when we get back, I'm going to tell you why Jasmine Crockett is my least favorite member of Congress. So stay with us. We'll be right back. WIAB. Welcome back to Crossing the Aisle. We went to the commercial break with radio host Sean and come back to lawyer Sean. He threw his suit on in the commercial break. He's heading out to a court date in Madison County over here. So good luck, Sean. But I wanted to talk, and he's glad. Or actually, he's not glad. He kind of wants to argue this with me.
You're wrong.
I'm not wrong. But yeah, Jasmine Crockett, she is the member of Congress, Democrat, obviously, who made the remarks. She and Marjorie Taylor Greene got into this heated debate at one point, and I think Marjorie Taylor Greene actually started it with a comment about her fake eyelashes, and she hit back and called her some butch blonde body, something that was not very nice. And they went at it for a little while, and then, of course, a few weeks ago, she made these comments about Texas governor and called him because he's in a wheelchair and called him Mr. Hot Wheels or something, Governor Hot Wheels, something along those lines. She took a lot of heat for that, but she's back at it. So Sean and I had discussed maybe every Friday doing what we call the stupidest thing a Republican has said this week, and then me take on the stupidest thing a Democrat has said this week. Well, if we were doing that segment, this would be the stupidest thing that I've heard a Democrat say this week. But she's advocating for immigrants, and she made the comment that the US needs migrants because black people are done picking cotton. And I just thought, wow. And that's what the word that came to mind when I saw that. Wow. What makes you think as a black woman or as any woman that you're better than any other human being? So now black people aren't going to pick cotton anymore. We're just going to that's the lowest job you can have, so we're just going to give it to the migrants. How does that make sense? How is that right? I just thought it was a disgusting comment, and I think most of the things that come out of her mouth are disgusting comments. Sean and I got into this heated debate the other night on immigration and illegal immigration, and I believe if you come into the country and the first thing that you're doing inside this country is breaking the law, well, that is wrong. Now, Sean being the son of someone who was an immigrant here to the United States, he sees that in a different light because he knows these people just want to make a better way, a better life for themselves, a better life from their children, and I completely understand that. So he doesn't believe that these immigrants that came here illegally but who are working, providing for their family, and paying taxes should be automatically shipped back to their country. But yet my argument was, but they're here legally, they're breaking the law. Why we can't just not enforce our laws? We won't be a country any longer. But after we talked about it for a while, we came to the agreement, why don't they set up a program where the immigrants who are here illegally, but they aren't contributing to crime, they aren't breaking the law, they are paying taxes, they are working to provide for their family. Why can't we set up a process that they can go through to make them legal instead of just deporting them and shipping them back? I'm sure we can get more into that later. We got just a few seconds. You can find us on Facebook or YouTube on Crossing the Aisle. And then Sean and I, of course, have our personal pages, and he's got his website, onetextlaw.com. See you back here tomorrow, same time, same place.